Hello and welcome back to the Azure DevOps course. In this lesson, I will explain the differences between the classic pipelines and the YAML pipelines. Before proceeding with the classic pipeline chapter and the YAML pipeline chapter, where we will do our demo pipelines projects, I want to make a lesson to describe the difference between them because you should know the differences so you can take a decision when to use classic pipelines, when it will be better, and when the YAML pipelines will be better for you, which suits your need. So let's start talking about the first difference. So before using the YAML pipelines, you should know how to write a YAML file. So you should know the syntax of the YAML files. You should learn it. But in classic pipelines, you don't need to know any specific language. It's only a GUI editor, a couple of clicks, and then the pipelines works. So it's a first difference. And also it's so easy to make a quick change in the classic pipelines. It's just a GUI clicks. In YAML pipelines, you need to edit the text YAML with the proper syntax, then push the new commit. This YAML file will be in your repo. But in classic pipelines, it's not a text file, so it is only in the Azure DevOps, it's not in the repo. But in YAML file, you need to edit the text file with the proper syntax, then push the new YAML file, so the new change happens. The third difference, not easy to make a multiple changes in the GUI. It's not easy. But in the YAML pipeline, you can replace and copy paste a lot of tasks and make a easy change for multiple values in one go. So if you want to make a multiple values, make a script to generate your YAML file, it's better to use the YAML. But if you are wanting to make a lot of replacement, it will not be easy in the GUI. Supporting for Git, TFVC, GitHub, and SVN. Classic pipeline supports TFVC, version control system. But in YAML pipeline, it only supports Git version control. So it's one of the differences. Also, the YAML pipelines is the default experience now. Microsoft encourages using it, and any new feature will be for the YAML pipeline. But the classic pipeline is not the default anymore, and Microsoft doesn't recommend it. The YAML pipeline is better in collaboration and in applying code review as a text file, so you can apply all your code policies, pull request, code review, any security audit. So the YAML pipeline is better in the collaboration, while the classic pipeline doesn't have this feature. It's not very good in collaboration. The YAML pipeline support container jobs, where you can run your pipeline job inside a Microsoft hosted container. It's a container job running your job in a public container inside your Microsoft hosted agent. So you can do this in the YAML pipelines. But in the classic pipelines, you can do a container job. Doesn't support container jobs. It's easy to compare versions and troubleshoot any error in the YAML pipeline, but troubleshooting and comparing versions is not very good in the classic. By the way, classic pipelines have versioning. Like it's not like the version control system with Git, but classic pipelines have versioning. But to compare versions and troubleshoot, it will be very better to use the Git control system with the YAML pipeline. The last thing, which can be a pros or cons depending on your need, is that the build and the release pipeline in the classic is completely independent, and each one have a different UI. So when you're making a build pipeline, the release pipeline in another UI and in another different independent system. While in YAML pipelines, you can make your build and release in the same pipeline. They are in the same UI. I will show you now how they are different. When making classic pipelines, you make the build pipeline here in the pipelines. Create pipeline and choose the classic editor, and choose the repo and put your tasks. You can make this task here to build a Docker image. So it's the build pipeline. It's only for build. If you want to make a release to deploy your application, you publish artifact from the build pipeline and use it in the release pipeline. Go in the release here, make new pipeline. So you must use artifact from the build pipeline and then deploy to your VM on Kubernetes cluster. So they both are independent. While in the YAML pipeline, you can create a YAML pipeline that holds both the CI and the CD that build and deploy in the same YAML pipeline. They're both on the same UI. And that's all for this lecture. See you in the next lecture. We'll start with the classic pipeline chapter. We'll start diving into how to make pipelines and releases and use the task groups, deployment groups. We'll make a lot of demos and we'll practice a lot using the classic pipelines. See you in the next lecture.